Generally, my experience with visual novels has been with 60-hour-long harem romances, where you're forced to play through multiple times to get the quote-unquote perfect ending. Today I'll be reviewing something very different from that. May I introduce Always the Same Blue Sky, a story with only 2 characters and about an hour or so of reading. It's a little Western developed indie game, and given its short length, this review will be a bit shorter than usual. The story runs like this. The male protagonist, who you name, arrives on an unnamed Mediterranean island to transfer to a new school. He meets Kira, our female protagonist, they do stuff together, and a relationship develops. The plot is fairly simple, but not entirely straightforward. The writer doesn't initially give us much of the background for either of the protagonists, which adds something of an element of mystery while you're reading. Along with this, there's also a bunch of little side stories or myths that are told within the main story, and this adds greatly to its depth. While most of it is quite well done, I do have some issues with the writing. My first problem is with the transitions. The story occasionally has parts that feel like complete non sequiturs. As an example, our characters are talking about the founding of one of the shops in town. A woman had lost her husband at sea. Then one day, she found a glass starfish washed up on the beach. She decided to start a glass shop. The shop has beautiful figurines. Now? And then milkshakes! Wait, what? Where did that come from? And now, an image of fishing. Except the text isn't talking about fishing. Okay, it is now. Anyways, my other complaint with the story is that it feels like it's missing most of its middle. It starts out with a good introduction to the characters and the plot through the course of a day. It then has several smaller events interspersed with time skips, which are promptly followed by the climax and conclusion, also occurring within the course of one day. Maybe this is just a function of the overall story being short, but I think the conclusion could have been much more compelling if there were more events leading up to it. My feelings about the characters of this story are also a mixed bag. I like the protagonist's narration, which tends to be thoughtful, and the conversations between characters are generally well written. That being said, I felt that the characters, particularly Kira, were underdeveloped and perhaps a bit generic in personality. I feel the novel's true strength, however, lies in how it creates atmosphere. The watercolor style of art it uses for background is somewhat unique in my experience, and it fits the tone of the story quite well. Many of the locations in this story also have a sort of magical feel to them, despite them actually being ordinary, and the art style does a good job of reinforcing this feel, as does the myths that are woven into the story. I was also impressed by the music for the game. It's the type of thing where I'd be happy to leave the game running in the background while I was working on something else, just so I can listen to the music. The different tracks fit the mood of the story perfectly, and the other sound assets are none too shabby either. Honestly, despite this game being an indie game, I think its music and art are better done than many of its bigger budget counterparts. One last note, I would add at the time of this recording, the story doesn't have branching choices, but this is a feature that the game creator says he hopes to add in later. Overall, I found the story to be very relaxing to read, but not exactly exciting or touching. If you have a lot of free time and you're looking for a story of epic proportions, this probably isn't what you're looking for. On the other hand, if you're crunched for time, it's a good break, and I can honestly say that I personally enjoyed reading this over my exam period. Also, if the author does end up being able to add the branching choices as he has indicated he wants to, then this game has a great potential to go a fair ways further. For anyone who's interested in playing Always the Same Blue Sky, I've put a link in the description below this video to where you can purchase it. Anyways, thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this review, please subscribe, and all comments are welcome. Cheers!